distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry I could not be with you in person this evening, but given the importance of the transatlantic relationship and the relationship between Germany and the United States within it, I felt it was important to support this event. This is an important time for transatlantic economic relations. The European Union and the United States are the closest of economic partners. The relationship is measured in millions, billions, and trillions, depending on whether we are talking about jobs, trade, or investment. It already drives considerable growth, both in Europe and the United States. And looking at that success, you might conclude that there is no room for improvement, but in fact there are still real barriers to trade and investment. Tariffs on goods, trade, of course, but also complicated obstacles like restrictions on public procurement, limits on trading and investing for services companies, and most importantly, different technical regulations that sometimes create additional burdens for companies without good reason. The Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership is a one-off opportunity to remove many of these constraints on growth and jobs in both the European and American economies, without, of course, lowering the level of regulatory protection for our citizens. We estimate that an ambitious agreement will expand the European economy permanently by at least 0.5% of our total GDP, and the US economy by approximately that value as well. That growth translates into more money in people's pockets, more than €500 per family per year, as well as millions of jobs. This is an opportunity we will surely be mistaken to pass up. It is why, since President Obama, President Van Rompuy and I agreed to start this process in February, we have been working with record speed and intense focus. But we are still only at the beginning, and we will need to be particularly persistent if we want to make it to the end. As you know, all trade negotiations require persistence. I can tell you that from my own experience of reaching a deal with Canada in recent months. But these talks in the United States will require even more of us. They are economically the most significant bilateral negotiations in which we have ever been involved. They cover new and sometimes sensitive ground, particularly on regulatory matters. And they take place in the context of a broader transatlantic political relationship that is certainly very close, but also very complex. It is unavoidable that political issues will arise during the time we are negotiating. The intelligence issue is a particularly serious example of this. It is essential that we restore trust, clarity, and confidence as soon as possible. Essential for the TTIP negotiations and for the wider relationship. I believe the right place to do that is in the working group we have established for that purpose and in the contacts that are already going on between our member states and the United States, namely on issues regarding national security and intelligence. In the meantime, the TTIP negotiations themselves need to be allowed space to continue. What this shows is that those of us who want to see this agreement succeed, and that's the position of the European Commission, those of us who see that economic benefits are essential to a European economy in recovery, all of us need to stay focused on that goal. And that goes for the business community as much as for government. With all the political support these negotiations have, I'm very confident of our ability to cross the finishing line. But we cannot be complacent. So it is very important that companies like yours show as clearly as possible how this agreement could benefit the economy as a whole. You can and must tell real stories about the real trade opportunities, the real investments, the real jobs that will flow from the agreement. What people need to hear from you are examples of how your companies will grow in order to understand what TTIP means for them. Very simply, if people do not understand how they will benefit, then they will not support the conclusion of these negotiations. And we need to convince them. It is also vital that you communicate that message not only here in Europe, but also in the United States. Because, obviously, if this agreement is going to be a success, there will have to be market opening in the US too. That will only happen if the regulators, the legislators, and the governors will need to make decisions about that opening are convinced the deal is good for the United States side too. I hope we can count on your support. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I wish a very pleasant and productive evening and look forward to working with you, build an agreement that will strengthen our economies in decades to come. I thank you very much for your attention.